So hello everyone, it's the Cricket Connoisseur here and welcome to yet another 2020 IPL preview show. On today's show, I'm joined once more by cricket fanatic Partsing Rahul. And in today's show, we're going to be talking about the men from Mohali, the Kings 11 Punjab. So first things first, Part, thank you very much for coming onto the show again, mate. How excited are you to watch the Kings 11 in action in this year's IPL?
Thank you so much, Aaron, for having me over again. It's always a pleasure. Very excited. The reason I'm excited about Kings 11 Punjab this season, new leadership group, new captain, new coach, a lot of new holes they have filled in.
Yep.
So it would be very interesting to see how they approach this season and build a core team to go in the future seasons. So very, very excited about Kings 11 Punjab. And more importantly, how does the pair of Kumble and KL Rahul come along as leaders of that team. So it will be a very interesting watch because there are a lot of players in that team, a lot of new players. So how they will build their 11, how they will build their core, and how they will decide the roles for certain individuals. So it will be a very interesting watch in terms of strategies, that how well they play with their strengths and how well they know their weaknesses, and at the same time capitalize on that. And if they do that, that could be a good, dangerous team to watch out.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, let's talk about the squad then, because as you said, it's quite a new look squad. I mean, they've retained some of their players from last season, but starting with the batsmen, you've got Karun Nair, Chris Gale, Mike Agarwal, Mandeep Singh, Sarfraz Khan, and Deepak Hooda. Moving into the all-rounders, you've got Glenn Maxwell, Jimmy Neesham, and Tajinder Singh. Wicket keepers, KL Rahul, who is going to be the captain, Nicholas Pooran and Prabhsimran Singh. And then rounding off with the bowlers, we have Mujibur Rahman, Murugan Ashwin, Harpreet Brar, Krishnappa Gautam, Jagadisha Suchith, Ravi Bishnoi, Mohammad Shami, Hardus Vilyun, Darshan Narkande, Arshdeep Singh, Sheldon Cockshaw, Chris Jordan, and finally rounding off the team, Ishan Parel. So what are your first thoughts on this squad part? Where are the real key areas that you're looking out for?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know when they were in auction, they were building their team for the surfaces in Mohali or in Indore. But now that we are going to Dubai, it's going to help them a lot because the kind of spin variations they have in their team, they have all sort of spinners. If you want a leggy, you have Murugan Ashwin and Ravi Bishnoi. If you want a finger spinner, a mystery spinner, you have Gautam and Mujib. And if you want a classic off spinner, Maxwell can give you a couple of overs. If they go for a turning wicket, I think those overs will be really, really crucial. And they have ticked all the boxes in the spin department, that's for sure. One thing which is really interesting, and they did better from the last season, that the death bowling department, which was weak in the last season, and now we know that Shami can bowl 1 or 2 overs in the death. So they did a very good buy in Jordan, who's not only a good death bowler, but an excellent fielder as well.
Yes.
And he can save you lot of runs. So if Shami and Jordan will give me a few overs in the death with their slower ones, with their some knuckleballs, I think this is the side which will be more balanced than they were from last couple of seasons. In terms of administrative, they made good changes. They made Anil Kumble as head of their cricket director of their operations. And it will be very interesting to see how he gels up with KL Rahul, who's a new captain in himself. If it gels up well between the leadership group, again, they have, when it comes to the players and individuals, they have brilliant players and individuals. So if they can come together as a team, I think this team can cause some serious damages to even the top teams. So again, it's a team to watch out for in terms of strategy and knowing their strengths and being self-aware about their players.
Yeah, definitely. Very well analysed there. I must admit, in terms of the leadership group, it is a massive overhaul. And when you think of Anil Kumble, obviously an absolute legend, 619 test wickets. I know that's not T20, used to be a captain of RCB. And let me just talk about RCB for a second, because looking at this squad, they might as well call themselves the Kings 11 Bangalore. We've got Karun Nair, Chris Gale, Agarwal, Mandeep, Sarfraz. That's 5 batsmen who used to play for RCB. You've got KL Rahul, who used to open for RCB. Murugan Ashwin used to be one of our leg spinners. And then rounding off, Chris Jordan as well. So,
and then the players who come from Karnataka, there is Padikkal, Karun Nair, these guys along as well.
I mean, fair play. I suppose in a way you could argue that they will have a bit more team chemistry in that regard. For guys like Gale and Rahul, they used to play together in 2016 and 17. So
Sure.
there's definitely an argument for that. With that being said, though, let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the squad then. I think a very obvious strength, we've just mentioned the universe boss, Chris Gale. You've got Glenn Maxwell in there, you've got Rahul. This team is full of big hitters who,
Sure.
let's say the conditions are favourable, let's say in Dubai and Sharjah, where they are a bit quicker, there's a bit more in terms of for the seam bowlers as well, a bit more pace on the ball coming onto the bats. They could be scoring some big scores. They really could.
Right.
We've mentioned Mike Agarwal as well. Mandeep Singh's a pretty good finisher if needed.
And not to forget the ex-RCB Sarfaraz Khan. He had a good season with Punjab last season. He played a couple of games, but he had knocked the ball pretty well, and he has been good at scooping the ball and, getting the cheeky boundaries.
Yes.
So if he can actually deliver that, yeah, for sure, we are looking at some good pinch hitters in that team.
Definitely. I like how you mentioned the scoop, because I remember in 2018, I think it was against Sunrisers, he played an absolutely outrageous scoop. And I think it went fine to third man. But yeah, brilliant. As you said, he's a guy who could come in with, let's say, 4 or 3 balls left in the innings and score 12.
For sure.
He's a really useful player. In terms of any other strengths, parts, what else do you see in this team? What are their real strengths and strong points?
I think they have had always good Indian individuals, but this time they have good overseas as well. I mean,
Yes.
of course, Maxwell comes from Delhi, so Maxwell has been with the franchisee before. He knows the culture, and we all know what he did in the Dubai in 2014 in the first 5 games. He was knocking every team. He had 350s in the 5 games already. So, and Punjab won 4 out of 5, or I don't know, 5 on 5. I don't know how many games they won, but they were like, Maxwell had a wonderful season. So I think in terms of mental preparation as well, he'll be in a very comfortable space if he knows that he'll be playing in the 11. It's Dubai. He has this number 4, number 5 slot. He has a couple of overs to bowl. I think if Kings 11 Punjab needs to go to top 3 or top 4, Maxwell needs to have a big season. You cannot have a failure of Maxwell and still Punjab, because you do not want, 500 runs of KL Rahul carrying the whole team, or a few knocks from Mayank Agarwal and Sarfaraz or Gautam in the middle. But I think Maxwell is actually the role which needs to fill in. That's why even after the consistent IPL failures, they paid him big bucks. So I think Maxwell is the player to watch out for this season. He has a lot to prove to IPL. He has performed for Australia. He's not just an amateur anymore. He has been in the circuit for almost 10 years for now, and he's in the senior in terms of world cricket. So he has to carry the team on his shoulders along with KL Rahul. So again, the overseas players are really strong. Chris Gale, we do not know will he give us 14 games or not. Kings 11 Punjab has to decide on him very quickly, because if you need to make room for Nicholas Pooran or other overseas players, you need to have a clarity on Chris Gale, that will he give you 14 games, or will he give you those 400 to 500 runs that you want in the top of the order. So that's another challenge I'm looking at in Punjab. But in terms of strength, as I mentioned, massive Indian strength as well in terms of bowling department. Good Indian spinners. They have had a wonderful deal with Krishnappa Gautam. I do not understand why Rajasthan let him go, but he comes for Punjab. He comes for Punjab with the Karnataka management on top. He plays for Karnataka. Had a wonderful Syed Mushtaq Ali. Has been handy a few times in IPL. Had bowled overs in the power play overs as well. I think that's a very budget transfer for Punjab. So they are looking really well in terms of their spinners, their overseas players. One thing in summarize, I would say they have good set of individuals. Any player on his day can win you games, any player. So if they come together as a team, which I'm worried about, if they come together as a team, they will have a season they will not forget.
Certainly. Yeah, I agree with that. I'll just pick up on your first point about Krishnappa Gautam. Again, we mentioned big hitters. He can be a pinch hitter at the bottom of the innings. Let's say there's 2 overs left. He did it against Mumbai Indians in Jaipur in 2018. He was absolutely smashing the likes of Bumrah and McClenaghan. So again, I think that was a fantastic piece of business. It really was.
Sure.
And again, favourable conditions in the UAE. I think he's going to be a real asset for the Kings 11 in this year's tournament.
Certainly.
But I also like the fact that you picked up on individuals. Now, this has been a problem that has plagued RCB for years. And because they've picked a lot of RCB players, I fear, there is just a bit of me that fears that could transfer to this season. Because when you have a load of individuals, the likes of KL Rahul, Gale, Maxwell, you can almost slip into complacency. let's say the top order doesn't fire, and then you go, oh well, okay, Maxwell will fire. Maxwell doesn't fire, and then the cycle just keeps going on and on and on. And if that happens for 2 to 3 games, that could completely derail their season.
Sure.
So again, they need to be really careful with that. They can't slip into that mindset of, oh, if Gale and Rahul don't do it, Maxwell will do it. They need to be going, right, okay, we're chasing 150 runs, for example. We're going to do this. We're not going to leave it to the next man in the pavilion. We're going to finish this job off. And in addition to that, we keep on mentioning the leadership as well. KL Rahul, he has raw leadership capabilities. I think he is a natural born leader, to be quite honest, on a cricket field. But again, it's a bit of a baptism of fire, to be honest. You're going to be going up against the likes of Dhoni, Sharma, Kohli, these really experienced players who have been captaining their sides for years. So, Pat, I just wanted to ask you, what do you make of the decision to make him captain? And do you think that it will pay off in this year's tournament?
See, if you see this team on the piece of paper, you would say, okay, KL Rahul undoubtedly will be the captain. So that was a wise decision to make him captain. Now, I haven't seen him captaining for Karnataka because it was Mayank Agarwal, because KL was already playing for India. So whenever KL goes over there, it was Mayank Agarwal or Manish Pandey who captains the side. I haven't seen him captaining a lot, so I do not know how he'll come across, but he has to be really smart and manage his workload in the first place. He will be keeping the wickets. He will be guiding the bowlers, setting the fields, and at the same time, he will be opening the innings where he has to put the role which he did last year of playing the 20 overs. There was I remember a game last year, he played 20 overs and the team lost the game. He could not, So I think he has to be very, very clear that, is he ready for that? Is he ready for, keep 20 overs in that heat for 14 games? If Nicholas Pooran comes, yes, good thing he can, you can change the workload and give Nicholas Pooran to keep the wickets, and KL can actually field and, he's a good fielder himself. So I think it will be a good challenge. But again, knowing the personality KL is, he made his own room in the star Indian team. So knowing the kind of person he is, I will not be surprised KL, the batsman, will give you those 450 plus runs. Certainly top contender for orange cap as well for me this season.
Yes,
KL
definitely.
Rahul, certainly last 2 seasons, wonderful. Last season, his strike rate dipped a little bit because he had adapted his role as playing in the whole 20 overs. But if KL play 20 overs and Maxwell, Mayank Agarwal, Sarfaraz and Gautam plays around with him and give him KL's liberty and, tonk a few balls here and there, I think KL, the batsman, I'm not at all worried about. KL, the leader, of course, new captain, a lot of opportunities. Interesting thing you mentioned that, you do not want the RCB's thought process to come along with those players. And one of the things which concerns me, that it's a new team, and KL and Anil Kumble have to make it really clear that, who will make ultimate decisions, or, I just hope there is a clarity in the thought process, because if Anil Kumble selects the team and KL Rahul does not perform well with that team in this playing 11, then I do not know who will be the answerable in that situation. So there has to be a good chemistry between the leaders. And also, if this is a team where it was the most difficult team to pick up a playing 11 for us, even for us. So even for the captain, when we will make the playing 11, and if a player will not deliver in 3 games, what happens after that? The other bench players, they start to look good. You will say, okay, I will give him that chance. And then the bench player come in with insecurity as well, and which RCB has done over the years. They do not give players the security. So the bench players come, they know they have 3 games, they perform, not perform. Until the time 7 games are over, you lost 3 games or 4 games, you are out of the tournament almost. So this is the thing which concerns me. If they decide on a player that, okay, Jordan or, Ravi Bishnoi or Murugan Ashwin, I'll select you, you play 5-7 games to us, you deliver us this. If the per player delivers, you should give him the sense of security. So just make the most of your resources. And otherwise, I think the individuals, they all are professionals. They all have played leagues around the world, likes of Mujib, Cottrell, Jordan, Maxwell. They all are professionals in themselves. So if just the selection and clarity of role is clear, I think the individuals are professional enough to perform. So this will be a good thing to watch. Very interesting watch this season.
Yeah, interesting, definitely. I think that's a very good word to use for this team, because they could be world beaters. They could be a bottom dweller. As you said, the key thing in this tournament is clarity. They need to find the balance early, because unlike other teams, you've got Mumbai and Chennai, for example, who've kept the old guard. As we keep on saying, it's not an entirely new team, but they have lost key elements of their team. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. And as we keep on saying, it's going to be extremely good viewing, I think, for Kings 11 Punjab with their big hitters. They've got a very good spin attack. But yeah, it's just be interesting, obviously, to see how they're led by Rahul and, of course, coached by Anil Kumble. So we've mentioned a couple of the team who are very good young players, really, really good young players. So, Part, I'd first like to know your player to watch for this tournament. Who do you think is going to be a young player for Kings 11 to kind of put on everyone's radar?
I think the young player is to watch will be Ravi Bishnoi. He had a good under-19 World Cup. I'm not sure he will get 14 games, but I'd put him in my first 11, which I'll come really soon on. So Ravi Bishnoi is a young player to watch. He will be competing his spot with Murugan Ashwin. Both are leg spinners. One leg spinner has to start in the team. Of course, wrist spinners, how important they are.
Yeah.
So he can tonk a few balls here and there. He can give you some runs. He was match winner for India in the under-19 World Cup as well. And if you are a leg spinner, what better place to be under than Anil Kumble? You're under him. You are under his shadow. It's your coach for the next 56 days. Enjoy your time. Learn as much as you can.
Exactly.
Learn as much as you can, and so that you can deliver for India or your he plays for Rajasthan team, and even certainly for Punjab in the upcoming season. So I think Ravi Bishnoi is one of the good prospects to watch out for. But I expect a good season from Mayank Agrawal. He has been a good test player he had a good Boxing Day test match. He had a good run for India in the red ball. He was the highest run scorer in New Zealand with that bad series for India. He hasn't established himself as a T20 opener or player yet. So if he wants to start in the side, he has to, come in number 3 and, kind of the similar role which Nitish Rana and Surya Kumar Yadav will play, because Surya Kumar Yadav is knocking his door to the Indian team. And Mayank Agrawal wants that, you come at number 3, you give some nice consistent 40s, 50s, 35 to 40s. You take that role, and I think this will be a very, very crucial situation to control the game. And you give KL the liberty. KL and Gale, if they go well, everything's good. But listen, you lose them for 6 overs. What do you do? What do you do as a team? So in that case, Mayank Agrawal has to understand his value. He's a senior team player now. He's been with Indian team almost a year. So I think he should have a good season. I think this will be the player for me to watch out for. Mayank Agrawal, Glenn Maxwell, and the emerging player would be Ravi Bishnoi, certainly.
Yeah, wonderful choices. And yeah, I completely concur with them. In terms of my young player to watch, I've actually chosen Majid, because I was just thinking back to last season. He had a really poor tournament. I actually didn't realise until I saw the stats, because he only played 5 matches, only took 3 wickets, an average of 63.66, and the economy rate 10.05 as well. So this year I expect him to have a bit of a bounce back year. It's obviously going to be favourable conditions. In my view now, he is their spearhead of the spin attack. They no longer have Ravi Ashwin. So the emphasis and the onus is really going to be him on this season. In addition,
he's coming after a wonderful CPL, isn't he?
And that's exactly what I was just going to say. 16 wickets, an average of 13.56 and an economy rate of 5.29 and over. He's got the confidence. He's got the ability. They were very spin-friendly conditions in the Caribbean as well. So I imagine he'll take over that confidence. He's learned a lot of new skills as well in the Caribbean. So for me, I think this is going to be a massive season for him, because we know they've got a fantastic spin attack. Okay, if he doesn't perform, they have experienced Indian options that they can go to.
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be my player to watch. And if he comes good, and if he can produce some similar performances to his exploits with the Jamaica Talawars, he could be an absolute asset for the Kings 11 this season.
That's a good pick, certainly. And if he does that, he might be in contenders for IPL's emerging player as well.
Definitely. 100%, yeah. As I said, it's an interesting team. We keep on saying that word, interesting. It has the potential to be a really good season, or maybe an average season. It's going to be somewhere between one of those two, isn't it, for Kings 11? But either way, it's going to be very good watching. So, moving on to the segment which I'd argue is the most difficult one out of almost any team in the IPL. And that is to somehow predict the strongest 11. Now, for anyone watching this at home, please do let us know your strongest 11. Put it down in the comments below. We'd love to kind of see your choices as well, because there's going to be plenty of agreements, disagreements, and that's absolutely fine. But Part, I'll start with you. what do you think is the strongest 11 that the Kings 11 Punjab can choose in 2020?
All right, let me tell you, Aaron, this has been the most difficult team to actually pick because you have so many combinations and you cannot leave one star out or other emerging prospect out of the team. So please pardon me if I offend anyone in this playing 11 because this has been the most difficult one so far. So without a doubt, KL Rahul, which he comes as an opener, as captain of the team, and as wicket keeper of the team in the initial few games. For sure. I don't know after the dynamics change of the game, but as a captain, as a wicket keeper, as an opener, KL Rahul walks into the side, along with Chris Gayle as an opener. As I mentioned, Kings 11 Punjab have to be really sure to decide what's the future, how many games will he give us. Last year, he played 13 games and almost gave you 500 runs.
Yeah.
That was a good season according to his standards. Good season. So they have to be really clear. They have to be deciding really soon that, okay, how long will he play for us? And Anil Kumble actually went on record and mentioned that we picked up Chris Gayle not for the individual he is, but kind of the mentorship he will provide for the team. So I will not be surprised if they leave him out for a few games. But again, I have to start a pick strongest 11. So I start with KL and Gayle, as they say it in Punjab. Number 3, my player to watch out for, Mayank Agarwal,
Yeah.
Karnataka, number 3. As I told you already, been with the side. It's been a year or a year and a half. He has to understand his responsibility and take the team forward. Number 4 has been the most difficult one because Mandeep Singh, Karun Nair, Nicholas Poor, and you have so many options in that position. All 3 of them really good at what they do, and it's almost a shame how a lot of franchises have wasted Mandeep and Karun by not utilizing their potential. They are so good for their respective states in the domestic Indian tournament, where it could be Vijay Hazare or Syed Mushtaq Ali. But I'll start with Karun Nair at number 4. Difficult choice. I'll start with Karun Nair. He had a couple of good knocks for Delhi. He had a few good knocks for Punjab last season as well. He had a 60 or 64 odd, I guess. He plays good sweep shots. He plays spin really well. And so I'll start with Karun Nair at number 4. And if Mayank or KL can play along, I think he can actually be used as a floater in the team as well. So Karun Nair comes in number 4. Glenn Maxwell comes in number 5 without a doubt. He'll give me a couple of overs as well in Dubai conditions. He loves Dubai. I don't know what happens when he goes there, but yeah, he loves the conditions. Absolutely, what we have seen so far. Glenn Maxwell, they paid him big bucks, and he has to play well if Kings 11 wants to actually go in top 4. So Glenn Maxwell comes in number 5. Number 6, Sarfaraz Khan.
Yes.
His problem has been injuries so far. He has changed his Ranji state as well. He was playing for Mumbai, then he went to Uttar Pradesh. Again, it's been a couple of years. Did well in Syed Mushtaq Ali according to his standards, and did well last year for Punjab whenever he got the opportunity to, scoop in a couple of balls. And, as you mentioned, like 12 of 3 balls or 10 of, last couple of balls. So good match for Sarfaraz Khan at number 6. If he plays with Maxwell or KL in the top 6, I think that's a good side we are looking at, established side. Number 7, deal of the season for me, Krishnappa Gautam. He can hit a few balls for 6. He had a good Karnataka Premier League as well. He has been good in the IPL for a few seasons for Rajasthan. I do not understand why they let him go again, as I said. You might want to add something on that.
It is. It's mind blowing, isn't it? Really, he was so good. Him and Shreyas Gopal in tandem was such a good spin duo. And yeah, that is, as you said, that could arguably be the steal of the IPL auction. It really could.
For sure, certainly. And so we are already looking at strong number 5. I have 2 overseas players here, Chris Gayle and Maxwell. Now, there are a lot of permutations and combinations. If you are clear that Gayle will not give you that value, you take him out. You give Mayank, Mandeep to open in the innings, any of those Indian openers, and then you put Nicholas Pooran at number 4, number 5, which is really important, which I should have done, but I did not find room for an overseas player in my team. But I think they have to be really clear. Nicholas Pooran, he had scored 100 in CPL already, didn't he?
Yeah, for Guyana.
So he is my backup so far because Chris Gayle is starting and I need 2 overseas bowlers. So Nicholas Pooran doesn't start for me so far. So Sarfaraz Khan, Krishnappa Gautam, top 7. And then in terms of leggies, Ravi Bishnoi and Murugan Ashwin are fighting for one spot. Kumble will decide who is doing better in the nets or intra-squad games. It's really difficult for us from outside to say it. You have to watch the players closely, that how they're bowling so far, or even in the intra-squad games. But I'll put my money on the young blood now, young gun. I'll go with Ravi Bishnoi to start. And now I already have 2 spinners here. Krishnappa Gautam can bowl in power play, and Ravi Bishnoi is a leggy. He will give me 4 overs for sure. So even Krishnappa Gautam gives me a couple or 3 overs. Maxwell can fill in a couple of overs from that side. Then comes number 9, the third overseas slot, Mujibur Rahman. He walks into the side. He has to play the games. And you said this is the one of the emerging player of the season we are looking at. So wonderful confidence he's taking from Caribbean Premier League. He will start the side. He will take 1 overseas place and gives me 4 overs guaranteed. Can bowl in the power play with Shami, couple of overs, Mujib, couple of overs, and Gautam 1 over here and there. We are looking at a good power play bowling side this year for Punjab, and that's an interesting watch. So Mujib walks in, and then again Mohammad Shami, Indian medium pacer. He has to walk in. Again, the fitness is a concern. Can he give you 14 matches in strong fitness conditions? I think he can. If not, you have a good substitute in your Indian bowler as Ishan Porel. He can walk in as a backup if Shami doesn't want to play 14 games, or he wants to drop in 2 or 3 odd games. So again, good backup in Ishan Porel, but Shami will start. And this had been the most difficult choice for me, Jordan or Cottrell for 4th slot. I must admit, I saw Jordan in England, Australia, the series which is going on, and he was so good in the death with the Yorkers, wasn't he? I mean, if you have Shami, Mujib, and Gautam bowling in the power plays, I want a couple of overs with Shami. Shami will get 1 or 2, but some other bowler has to give me 2 overs in power play. If they're defending of 160 odd game, they want a good power play bowler. And I think Jordan, with the experience he carries with himself, and the fielder which he is, we all know, one of the best. I never thought before a few years that medium pacer would be a good fielder. Excuse me, medium pacers in the world, but they never make good fielders. And what Jordan and Stark, they have changed around the fielding dynamics. And wonderful fielder, wonderful death bowler. I'll start with Jordan for right now and wait for Sheldon Cottrell. If my Indian finger spinners are giving me good overs, I want to put Cottrell for another medium pacer. I'll take off Mujib and put Cottrell for the other slot. If my Indian spinning options are giving me well, because Ravi Bishnoi, Gautam, Mayank Agarwal, Glenn Maxwell, or even for the likes of Murugan, if he plays, then Cottrell can walk for Mujib. But looks like a good side. Good overseas options. They have sorted the death bowling so far. If Jordan or Cottrell, either of them plays, they are good death bowlers. But we are looking at established side. We just have to know that how much faith in this team, the selection committee and the leadership group puts. Otherwise, they're a team to watch out for.
100%. Now, I've gone ever so slightly different. You've mentioned the
that's
battle,
the interesting part.
The battle between not only Ashwin and Bishnoi, but also Cottrell and Jordan. For the start, I'll probably just choose Cottrell over Jordan, just because he offers you something a bit different, that left arm angle. That's it. But either way, both fantastic, both absolute masters of the cutter and the slower ball as well. So either way, you're going to have a good option.
Either way, you're winning,
Exactly. So there's not really a big disagreement with that. With regards to Ashwin and Bishnoi, you've gone with the young blood. I've gone with the more experienced option. I've gone Murugan. For those who don't know, I'm an RCB fan, so I just went Murugan for the sake of it. But yeah, other than that, it's a very, very strong team. And in our Kolkata team analysis as well, parts, we mentioned about depth on the bench. Now, who do you look at on the bench for Kings 11? We mentioned Ishan Porel. We've got Deepak Hooda as well. We haven't touched upon yet, but he's another one who can finish off an innings and provide a couple of overs of spin. So who really stands out to you in terms of their rotation players?
For sure, we are looking at an interesting bench strength. As I said, if we know Chris Gayle is not the player which he was, we can take him out. We can put, if you want to make your middle order stronger, Nicholas Pooran is eager and waiting to start. And he will keep wickets for you if KL Rahul wants to give his work, share his workload management. So Pooran along with Mandeep, Pooran along with Maxwell and Mayank Agarwal comes, and now we are looking at a strong middle order, which you can trust. So even if you lose your openers, this is the middle order you can trust. So I'm looking at Nicholas Pooran as first replacement. Any of the overseas goes, Nicholas Pooran walks in,
Yeah.
and then Jimmy Neesham. What a wonderful World Cup he has had. He is like this rare breed of fast bowling all-rounders are so difficult to find. Mishmash, Ben Stokes, now Jimmy Neesham. I mean, if they perform well, how good they are for the team balance. You can put any of the other players around them. So if something were to happen to Glenn Maxwell, he's not giving you that value. You again put Nicholas Pooran and then you put Jimmy Neesham, or you could play them both if you're worried that you do not have enough firepower in finishing. If you lose Kale and Gale, you want some firepower. You put Maxwell and Neesham, both of them. So Neesham again a good prospect to show that I could walk in the team. I could give you a couple of overs. I can hit a few balls around. So again, good bench strength in terms of overseas. There's another overseas, Viljoen. Please pardon me if I don't pronounce it right. Viljoen, he is playing in CPL as well, isn't he?
Not at the moment. He did last season for St. Lucia.
Right.
But yes, again,
So
he has experience
again,
on slower
yeah,
wickets.
he has experience. So Jordan or Cottrell, you have a third backup in Viljoen who can bowl as well. And then like for like replacement. This is the really good thing I like about teams. They have like for like replacements. If Krishnappa Gautam doesn't give you that value, Deepak Hooda can come in. He gives you that same finger spinning options. He's been a leader for Baroda for a couple of years now. He's leading Baroda team. He has had few good seasons with Sunrisers Hyderabad when I was there in that franchise. So again, he is a good prospect. He will start for 4 or 5 games certainly. So good bench strength we are looking at. And again, Murugan Ashwin or Ravi Bishnoi, either one plays, the other one is a good prospect to knock doors to the team. So again, very good bench strength as well, like for like replacement. I'm just worried that if Gale doesn't do well, who will open for you? But that's a point of concern. And again, Mandeep Singh, please pardon me. I started with Karun Nair, so Karun or Mandeep, either one of start or the other one will be in the bench. So again, good prospect, Mandeep or Karun, who wants to start as in the middle order. So settled bench strength, and good thing that all of them are experienced. It's been 5 or 7 years. They're in the first class competitive cricket. They're experienced. They have won games for their respective states or counties or franchises. So good sets of individuals. So good bench strength overall I'm looking at, and again, like for like replacement. Wonderful team in terms of wonderful homework in auction dynamics they have performed. Again, you can say yours as well, so we can have 2 different teams on the sides. So KL Rahul comes number 1, Chris Gale, Mayank Agarwal, Karun Nair, Glenn Maxwell, overseas option, Sarfaraz Khan, the Indian cheeky player, Krishnappa Gautam, Ravi Bishnoi, Mujibur Rahman, Mohammad Shami, and Chris Jordan to finish.
Fair enough. And then, I shall go with my 11. So I've got KL Rahul, captain, and I suppose wicketkeeper as well. Chris Gale, Mike Agarwal at 3. I've also chosen Karun Nair, but I've also put Slash Mandeep because, again, both fantastic options. Glenn Maxwell at 5, Sarfaraz Khan at 6, Krishnappa Gautam at 7. At 8, I've gone Sheldon Cottrell. So that is just a slight difference. Number 9, Shami. Number 10, Murugan Ashwin. And rounding off my 11, I have Mujib ur Rahman. And let's move on to the final bit then. The all-important bit, the bit everyone loves, the pre-tournament prediction. Now, Parts, I'm going to go with you first. Where do you think Kings 11 will finish in the table?
That's a tricky one, isn't it? I believe if they will make to the playoffs, if they do, then we are looking at a good side. We are looking at a good side, established side. I guess, in my opinion, all the other teams, they are so well balanced. They have so much clarity in their 11. So no disrespect to Punjab, but for me, I'll be happy surprised. Let's say I'll be happily surprised if they make it to the playoffs. But having said that, when the net run rate comes into the play, when the last leg of the tournament is going, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually defeat Mumbai Indians or Chennai or RCB or any of the top teams to mess up with the table dynamics. So I think this is where Kings 11 can come in. If the net run rate is in the play, because I checked the table of last year yesterday, the only difference between RCB and the qualifying team was 1 point. Like 2 points, sorry, one game.
2 points, yeah.
So one,
2 points.
yeah, 3 points, one winning game. Yeah. So if the game wouldn't have been ruled out because of rain or etc., they would have been qualified. So again, they have good enough team to beat any team on any given day, but I'm worried about the consistency. So
yeah, definitely. And as you said, I think it's going to be a very, very close tournament yet again. So many good sides, so many top caliber players. They're a team that, in my view, could either finish third or eighth. They really are. They're a very, very enigmatic team because we don't know the balance that they're going to go with. We don't know how Rahul's going to be affected by the captaincy either. So it pains me to say this. I'm going to predict them finishing 7th. But with that being said, given all of the ex-RCB players, it would really make me quite happy to see them 4th. So any Kings 11 fans out there, please feel free to obviously tell us where you think your team's going to finish. Any non-Kings 11 fans as well, let us know your predictions for this season. Either way, as we keep on mentioning, they're going to be great to watch. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on the Kings 11 Punjab. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this preview show part. Just before we go, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, just a final question I got to ask you. Do you see any potential orange cap or a purple cap contenders in this team?
Orange cap, yes, Rahul.
Sure,
purple
certainly.
cap, potentially Mohammed Shami.
Good picks. Yeah, for me, the same. I'm going with the same picks.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, now that wraps up for today's preview show. So yeah, before we finish part, do you have anything to plug and promote? Any social media channels, for example?
So yeah, I just made a YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter channel of Cricket Honestly. I have put a link in the description, and the quality content Aaron is giving you on regular updates, that's quite good to follow as well. And we'll be coming with such a lot more collaborations, a lot more insights during the IPL. It's going to be a good couple of months, so let's stay tuned.
Definitely. And yes, I completely agree with that. If you want to go and follow Path, please do. He's got great insight. I mean, as you've seen, not only from this preview show, but from previous ones as well, he knows his stuff. Okay, go and give him a follow. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up today's preview show. All that's left for me to say is to everyone who's tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, guys, enjoy the rest of your day.